What celebrity suffered the worst fall from grace?
Allison Mack, Bill Cosby, and Jared Fogle are all in jail. I think fame to jail is a pretty big fall from grace, with Cosby the clear winner for falling furthest. It's one thing to lose your game. It's another thing entirely to lose your freedom.
O.J. Simpson, all-time football great, cultivated a public persona as lovable nice guy in TV and movies after his playing career, and then the real O.J. was revealed to the public.
Aaron Carter belongs on this list. The purest teeny-bopper heartthrob back in the day. Now, Nick Carter has to get a restraining order against him for threatening to hurt his kids. He's clearly dealing with meth addiction and the lowest of his lows. He did an egg live where him and a friend are driving around, hyping up Aaron. They go through a drive-thru and Aaron gives the girl a concert tee with his face on it. She had no idea who he was.
Jared Fogle fame out of nowhere to convinced pedophile.
Oscar Pistorius killing his GF.
Ashley Judd got her career tanked because she pushed back Harvey Weinstein. She lost her chance with a role in Low TR because of him, and she mostly vanished from the screens after he tagged her as a nightmare to work with.
Brendan Fraser was raped, and when he came forward, his career was destroyed. So glad they got him for Doom Patrol. He really is such a great entertainer. Edit. It wasn't rape, it was sexual assault.
Recently it has to be Hilaria Baldwin, wife of Alec Baldwin. She pretended for years she was Spanish, featured regularly in Hola magazine as Best Dressed Latina, hosted a successful podcast, and was a correspondent on an entertainment channel. Turned out she faked her Spanish heritage completely. She was pretty much disowned by all her sponsors and doesn't appear TV anymore. She now spends her time uploading 1,000 Instagram stories a day of her children. Edit. Thank you to whoever it was from r/Hilaria Baldwin for the gold haha.
Silent film star Fatty Arbuckle was accused of raping and accidentally killing actress Virginia Rappe. Allegedly in his attempt to rape her, he squashed her to death with his great girth. He was tried 3 times and was eventually acquitted. Rappe most likely died from appendicitis. His career limped along until he died of a heart attack in 1933.
Any of the child celebrities that were never given a chance at a normal life and ended up getting chewed up and spit out by the industry. Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears come to mind, but there are many.
Lost Prophets guy, Ian Watkins, not to be confused with the other musician Ian H. Watkins, who isn't a kiddie fiddler but was part of Steps or S Club 7 or something like that. Guy was really doing well for himself in the music world, until he was jailed for 28 years for some of the absolute worst acts of child sexual abuse you'll ever hear about. There were also 2 co-conspirators jailed. These were the mothers of the victims. Do not Google the court transcripts.
Lance Armstrong, he had everything from gold medals and awards to multi-million-dollar endorsement deals with major companies only to lose it all because he was using steroids the entire time. He was looked upon as a role model and had a huge fan base around the globe. Now you hear nothing about him.
Jeffrey Jones, best known for Mr. Rooney in Ferris Bueller and Mr. Deeds in Beetlejuice. He has had numerous problems with profession of child pornography, solicitation of child pornography, problems with registering as a sex offender and updating his sex offender registration. And finally problems with his employers where people were invited to be on set but parents and visitors were up in arms when they were not formally notified he was a sex offender and on set.
Can't believe nobody mentioned Whitney Houston. She went from being America's sweetheart and favorite singer to literal crackhead, topping it all off with a very sad and untimely death.
Joe Paterno, one of the best coaches in college football history. Squeaky clean image, helped cover up the Penn State pedophilia scandal, where one of his coaches systematically groomed kids to fiddle and rape. Awful.
Paul Reubens, Pee Wee Herman. As far as I'm concerned, people like Bill Cosby more than earned their fall. Paul Reubens had an undeserved fall.
Not a big star by any means, but Mark Salling. Charged due to child pornography and then he committed suicide before he could be sentenced.
Armie Hammer. I know he wasn't that big, but as the grandson of an oil tycoon and someone whose career was starting to taking off, I think his reputation will never recover, especially with all the new and disturbing info that has been released to the public. I don't think I've seen any other celeb being accused of cannibalism before.
Amanda Bynes.
Britney Spears. Poor Britney.
People forget this now since he's a rare case of someone who recovered from a fall from grace, but Robert Downey Jr. in the mid to late 90s. He'd gone from a revelatory, Oscar-nominated performance in Chaplin to a national punching bag. His legal and addiction issues made his name basically a punchline for just about everybody working in comedy at the time. Imagine the way Britney Spears was treated during her breakdown, except without anyone being a Craig Ferguson-esque voice of. His recovery, both his personal recovery and his public image, is really remarkable.
Aaron Hernandez, if he counts as a celebrity. Star Patriots tight end, Super Bowl at 22. His last NFL game was an AFC championship game. 6 months later, he was arrested for murder. Convicted, sentenced to life without parole, committed suicide in prison at 27. He was tried for 2 more murders and found not guilty, but there's a good chance he did it. The murder he did get convicted for made sense if he thought that guy was blabbing about the other 2 murders he was caught up and wanted to shut him up.
Sinead O'Connor. She had a point, but she never recovered her status again after breaking Pope's picture.
Danny Masterson.
Shane Dawson. At one point, he was the most popular internet celebrity out there. Then the next day, you'll get demonetized just by saying his name in a YouTube video.
In the sci-fi, fantasy realm, Marion Zimmer Bradley experienced a pretty big posthumous fall from grace. It turned out she'd sexually abused her daughter from age 3 to 13 and ignored or actively supported her husband in molesting numerous boys.
It's Britney B. Spears caused her a loss of her financial freedom despite being mentally capable of managing her money for herself. Also, beep her dad.
Not the worst, but the current and depressing one, Noel Clarke. Good-looking black British dude, talented actor, had nerd cred from a role on Doctor Who, a successful directing career, was producing TV shows. Oh, and then 20 women went on the record accusing him of sexual harassment and bullying. And then more followed. Independent accusations, a vast amount verified. And it's just, like, seriously, dude? You didn't have to do that. That was a choice.
Chris Benoit, great WWE wrestler. Then he killed his wife and son. Autopsy report showed his brain was like that of a 70-year-old Alzheimer's patient. Then WWE went and deleted everything that had to do with him. They didn't want him associated with them after that. He did all that wrestling, got so damaged he killed his family, and WWE just wiped him out.
Not a classic celebrity, but Larry Nasser is a pretty astounding one. The most respected and trusted doctor in the elite gymnastics world had actually been grooming, abusing and assaulting hundreds of gymnasts, and especially using it in the top end of the elite scene. Even at the Olympics themselves. And USA Gymnastics for doing nothing about it after years or reports. The abusive training style that made it so easy to groom them, as he could just allow them to eat a small snack and that was enough to be the kindest man and savior in their world because the coaching was so horrendous. And somehow the people who facilitated this are still in control. So many vulnerable young girls were subjected to his miracle treatment. Apparently working for backs, hips, legs, groins. Any injury you can think of. Drugged to help them sleep before international competitions and waking up in his hotel room. He's a horrendous human. All these young girls with a dream. It's about the most vulnerable setting you can imagine, but a continuous flow of children. He makes me nauseous to think about.
I'm surprised I haven't seen Shia LaBeouf yet. He spiraled out of control fast.
The Duggars Lamau. I don't feel sorry for them, they did it to themselves.
Jimmy Savile. There's really no contest. The guy raped hundreds of children and even had sex with corpses.
Billy Squier. Huge musical star in the 1980s, then one kinda homoerotic music video threw him into obscurity.
Janet Jackson. Justin Timberlake and the media did her dirty.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.